How you guys doing? How you guys doing? Welcome to another ACAB show live, man. We are live. We are back. I decided to do a live show. Before I started doing heavy uploads, I decided to do a live show. And I'm on my new property right now. And we're going to be doing some live shows. And tonight we got a full show for you guys. So make sure you guys tap the stream. Make sure you guys are leaving the likes. And let's get into it, man. So in case you haven't heard, Marvel Studios has dropped Jonathan Majors. Why? Because he has been found guilty of 2 or 4 counts of assault against his ex-girlfriend, Grace Jabari. Now, that title in of itself, right, is misleading because the charges he was convicted of were of the non-intentional variety. Meaning that you can be found guilty of something, of an injury that you caused to someone and not be intentionally trying to do it. And that's even with the harassment charge that he was convicted of. And I have my own views of this case. But for right now, this is about news purposes. And for news purposes, Kang the Conqueror is no more in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at least as Jonathan Majors. As reported by Variety, Marvel Studios drops Jonathan Majors following guilty verdict for harassment and assault. Marvel Studios has parted ways with Jonathan Majors, the actor cast to play Kang the Conqueror, the central antagonist in the multiverse saga of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, after he was convicted on December 18th of 2 misdemeanor counts of harassment and assault of Grace Jabari, his ex-girlfriend. A source close to the studio confirmed the decision to Variety. In the verdict, Majors was also found not guilty of 1 count of intentional assault in the 3rd degree and 1 count of aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree. The actor was arrested on March 25th on assault and harassment charges after Jabari accused Majors of assaulting her in the back seat of a private car after she took his phone to read a text message he received from another woman. Jabari alleged that Majors forcibly retrieved his phone from her, causing an excruciating injury to her right middle finger. And when she exited the vehicle, Majors hit her on the back of the head and then tried to force her back into the vehicle, causing a cut behind her right ear. Now, these are all things that were mentioned in court. The video of Grace Jabari chasing Jonathan Majors, that was out there. We all saw that. We live in a country right now, and here's a part where we get past the news and into more of my opinion, my take on it. We live in a country where a black man was chased on video. And yet he was portrayed as the perpetrator, the aggressor. Meanwhile, Dana White, head guy of the UFC there, he was seen on video hitting his wife. Ezra Miller, another guy who plays in superhero flicks, well, we know his history, don't we? If you don't, Ezra Miller has been seen hitting several people, women, men, all kinds of crimes. And yet it's interesting how Ezra Miller was not only not canceled, this man went on to play The Flash. But that is juxtaposed to Jonathan Majors being seen running away from a woman. But he's being made out to be a bad guy. As one person in Jonathan Majors' camp said, this is America. And let me ask you a question. I've seen people on the white supremacist spectrum defend Jonathan Majors. I've seen that, right? But do you think that there are people in the black community who are attacking Jonathan Majors? Do you think so? Here's my channel. I replied to something on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. This is from Dewan B. Dewan B, he says, I honestly don't have much energy for Jonathan Majors. When you date white chicks, you take that risk. Anyway, who the Lakers played this year on Christmas? And even in the comment section of his own post, he got ratioed by his own audience. But then I quote tweeted, I said, this is the kind of toxic crap we don't need in the black community. What this person is saying is that he wouldn't even have the time for Harry Belafonte or any other great black icon that he couldn't hold a candle to without clout chasing. COCK watching black men is an old sport. That's what I said. That's what I said as a response. This man was railroaded. I mean, I'm watching channels like Cat, channels like Chillmonger. I'm watching feminist channels, and even they're like, this guy got railroaded. There's most people out there are kind of seeing this for what it is, right? And then what I said about Dana White, see, just to show you, this is what I put out publicly, right? See, because I'm consistent. Unlike Dewan B, when something happens to a black person, I'm actually consistent. I don't care who you date, you know. I'm not gonna be the date police. I even say here, Dana White smacks up his wife on video. He's a trained martial artist and clearly works out. He's clearly stronger and multitudes more powerful than her. No charges, no suspension. Even mentioning on ESPN is blasphemy. Some will say, quote, but it was mentioned there was a history with Majors, end quote. My response is that Dana White's own mother wrote a book about him discussing infidelity and beating on his wife. But Jonathan Majors is seen running from a psycho on video, and he's not only prosecuted but found guilty. That is the definition of good old American racism. See, that's called consistency, Dwan B. Now, I understand that's a problem, something that you struggle with, apparently. But I happen to think that Tyree Nichols was still a victim even though he dated a white woman. I happen to think that if George Floyd dated a white woman in the past, I still think he could be a victim. I happen to think that who you date has nothing to do, has no resemblance or bearance on whether or not you've been treated wrong by the criminal justice system. Because I know plenty of black men who have dated nothing but black women who are still falsely accused. We are number one in the country for exonerations. And he replies that, oh, you're somehow comparing Harry Belafonte to Jonathan Majors. No, the point that I'm making is that people can make a choice and live their life and still deserve support from their own community. I mean, after all, unless you live a perfect life, Dwan B, which I highly doubt you have. You know, you got folks out here saying we should stand behind Puffy, stand behind R. Kelly, stand behind all these people, right? And that's the whole point, right? That's the whole point. Cool. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. That's your opinion. But then don't tell me somebody like Jonathan Majors doesn't deserve support because of who he dated. You can't make it make sense. But see, this goes back to what I've always said. If you can't find a reason why something happened to a black person, right? Find the way to blame them. If it wasn't this, it would have been something else. It would have been something else. He would have just found something else because there's a crabs in the barrel mentality and also a subtle jealousy mentality. Some black people like watching other black people fall. You did something I don't morally agree with, so I want to watch you fall. Could you imagine walking around with a more pitiful mindset? I can't. But see, it goes back to what I've always said. It's not just the white folks who want to see you fall. It's your own folks sometimes. It's your own folks. Yeah? I feel bad for Jonathan Majors. I hope that he can come back. I really do. But I don't know, man. His career might be over. You know, you got people like Mel Gibson and others out there who have been accused of far worse. But they got careers. But Jonathan Majors might be over. And that's sad, man. That's real sad, man. Let's get into a cop story, man. Let's get into a cop story. All right, so a former NYPD police officer, right, has been busted because this man was sending inappropriate messages to boys, and he essayed one of those boys in the woods, according to feds. A former Staten Island police officer has been arrested. His name is Christopher Terranova. I've done stories about this guy before, but the update is that we find out the extent of his crimes. This guy was found to have allegedly essayed someone who's under the age of 18 in the woods. And he targeted the two people, youngsters, the two boys, when he met them during his time as an NYPD police officer. That's according to a federal indictment. Here's a picture of this man. Blue Lives Matter. Is this your man's? You know, I do stories like this all the time with police officers who do crimes just like this. And he allegedly went after these boys via social media apps, including Snapchat. This stuff began back in February of 2022 and ended in May of this year. This man is a serial predator with a badge. Yeah. So when people go out here criticizing those like me who do content like this, I want you to realize, I want you to go to their channel, go to their Twitters, their YouTubes, their TikToks, go to their social media channels and see how many stories like this do they cover. No, hold them to account. Ask them, hey, so suppose this guy does shut up. Are you going to pick up where he left off? If not, shut up. That's how you should respond. Because you see, stories like this only demonstrate one thing. It demonstrates one thing. And it's that there's more police officers who do stuff like this than people care to admit to. Period. Period. Point blank, straight like that, man. You can't really deny it, can you? You can't really deny it, can you? Now, let's get into the next story. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. So, Mexican cartels are using police database to track and target their enemies. Members of Mexico's cartels are piggybacking on technology used by local governments, sources told Vice News. So basically, the police in Mexico and local governments are inadvertently assisting cartels in committing crimes. Ain't that amazing? Ain't that amazing? Mexican criminal organizations are allegedly tapping intelligence and security software that is also used by the government to locate and disappear rivals and hide their crimes, according to several sources within the Mexican law enforcement and cartel members who spoke with Vice News. The software, called Titan, has been used by several Mexican state governments. A source familiar with the program said its users can geolocate persons across the country in real time, access minute-to-minute location logs, and obtain official identification documents, amongst other private information, according to sources. So basically, the Mexican cartels have everything. They know everything. They have your name, where you live, where you might have lived, where you might have shown interest in living, approximate height, weight, blood type, all that stuff. All that stuff. They got all, and it's all courtesy of the Mexican government, of the local Mexican governments and the police. So this stuff that's getting across the borders and all the trafficking that's happening across the border, the police in Mexico are assisting. Jesus. You can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make this stuff up, man. This is crazy. This is crazy. The different services available through Titan are being advertised on the black market for around 10,000 Mexican pesos, roughly $600 to 180,000 pesos or $9,000. They are being offered via WhatsApp groups managed by a council, which includes both members of criminal organizations and Mexican state officials, according to one of the group's admins speaking with Vice News. The council approves members of the list as well as the provision of services. Titan can be accessed in one of two ways: either directly through a Mexican official, mostly a state police commander, who takes the order of services requested and delivers on an agreed time, or by obtaining a login. quote, the platform is Mexican. It was developed here in Mexico, but people from Israel worked on the back end, end quote. A source inside a criminal organization told Vice News in a phone interview. We were unable to identify who, in fact, is behind the technology and it's running. So basically, the long and short of it is spyware and lists that were developed by law enforcement in Mexico are being essentially sold out on WhatsApp groups for a low cost. Do you understand that to a Mexican cartel, $600 is nothing, or even $9,000, even $1 million to a lot of them is nothing? It's nothing. It's a drop. Listen. There are some cartels out there, 10 million is nothing. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Oh, by the way, do you understand that at least some of those people on the list are also law enforcement? So there's no way to actually stop the cartels. Oh man, that is quite incredible. That is quite incredible. That is quite incredible. Let's get into this, man. This next story here. It's from 5 News, man. Got another police officer, another predator. While awaiting trial for 2 SA charges, former Arkansas police officer arrested again for SA. Officials said just 4 weeks after being released for SAing two people who's under the age of 18, he SA'd another person who's under the age of 18. Under 14, actually. Lowell, Arkansas. This is from 5 News. According to court documents, former Lowell police officer Roy Mitchell, 45, has been arrested for SAing someone who's under the age of 18 while awaiting trial under 2 other SA charges, also involving 2 other people who's under the age of 18. According to Arkansas State Police, authorities first arrested Mitchell on October the 5th after their crimes against people who's under the age of 18 division received a tip. Officials said just 4 weeks later, he SA'd someone again. Again, this man's a serial predator who's a police officer, or at least he was. At least he was. And that's his picture. That's him. That's him, y'all. I'm gonna let that play. I'm gonna let that play. That's him, y'all. That's him. I want y'all to see this man's face, man. Because see, the thing is that Blue Lives Matter and people who support police officers always attack me saying, oh, you're always criticizing police officers.
A former police officer has been arrested for sexually assaulting a minor. This while he was awaiting trial for 2 separate sexual assault charges also involving minors that took place just 2 months ago. 45-year-old Roy Mitchell was first arrested in early October. 4 weeks after he was released, officers said he sexually assaulted another minor who was under 14. Records show that around an hour after Mitchell was arrested and booked the second time, he was released again on bond. Mitchell was terminated from the Lowell Police Department after his first arrest back in October. His jury trial for the first 2 alleged assaults are now set for April.
Wow. So they let him out the first time, and this guy went and offended again. Right? And he's been terminated from the Lowell Police Department in Arkansas. Wow, Blue Lives Matter. Is this your man's? So, let's get into this next case here. It's coming from Vice News. The Pentagon has investigated dozens of extremism cases within its ranks. A new Department of Defense reports says dozens of soldiers were suspected of advocating or supporting the overthrow of the U.S. government. Wow, a soldier in the U.S. Army. Well, that seems concerning. I mean, if you are an anarchist, it's not concerning to you. You don't care. You're like, great, you know. But if you're not, that's a little concerning. The Pentagon has investigated 183 instances of extremism in military ranks, according to a new report, including 78 cases of troops advocating for or engaging in or supporting the overthrow of the U.S. government or seeking to alter the form of the government by unconstitutional or other unlawful means. It's according to a freaking report from the government. The government looked into the government and found this within the government, within the freaking military. The U.S. military has a well-documented extremism problem. People with extreme political ideologies, including white nationalists and white supremacists, have long used the military as a place to recruit and train new talent. A lot of neo-Nazis have turned out to be former Marines. In 2021, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin ordered a 60-day pause across all branches so that they could take time to address the problem. So they paused recruitment. Listen, you don't just pause recruitment for military recruitment if there's no issue here. Now we have a better understanding of how bad the problem is thanks to a new report from the DoD Inspector General called the Annual Report to Congress pursuant to fiscal year 2021 NDAA Section 544. It is an opaque name for a serious topic. Section 554 of the Pentagon's 2021 budget required it to keep Congress informed on how well it's handling some of the Pentagon's problem areas, diversity and inclusion, and responses to supremacist, extremist, and criminal gang activity of a member of the armed forces. The report noted 183 instances, different cases of the Pentagon investigating people over extremism across all branches. This included 14 Army investigators. This included 14 Army investigations into advocating or engaging in unlawful force or violence to achieve goals that are political, religious, discriminatory, or ideological in nature, and 43 Army investigations into advocating, engaging, or supporting terrorism within the United States or abroad. Wow! The problem with extremism in the military is pernicious and, to the troops, obvious. A 2020 Military Times poll survey of 1,630 active duty subscribers found that a third of them had witnessed signs of white nationalism or racism among their fellow troops. The list of pending criminal cases involving extremists with military backgrounds is long. So the long and the short of this is, when I was in the military, I seen a lot of guys who definitely fit this, but it was kind of covert, right? They wouldn't just come out and say it, but they would kind of say it in different ways. They would ask you questions, stuff like, "How do you think the country is unran?" And if you're a black soldier, you know, for certain ideologies, they wouldn't even associate with you, but for certain ones that actually would, yeah, you would hear those questions, man. And you're training these people to be soldiers. The main issue that I saw was the whole white supremacist stuff. You saw that all over the military. But the part that concerned me the most were the upper ranks. I was in Fort Gordon, man. I was training 25 Bravo. That's a military information technology specialist. I ran into a major. And that major was having a conversation at a chow hall that was near our little barracks. And it was around the corner. And he was talking to another white soldier. I couldn't see his rank. But I'm assuming he's like a freaking, you know, like a commissioned officer, because usually they don't usually associate with NCOs. And they were having a conversation about black soldiers. And they were saying stuff like black soldiers don't really belong in the Army. He was a major. I mean, stuff like that just hearing it, but then seeing people act on their deep-seated feelings, and you know the reason why they're acting on it, that was a different thing entirely. You know, even in the military, things were segregated, right? Everyone had their place. Like I'm not sure if it's still like that now, but I know when I was in, it was definitely like that. Especially when I went, it was like that in the active army, but it was especially like that when I went over from the active army to the National Guard, right? It was very much white soldiers go off to their own, black soldiers go off to their own, and a lot of times you would get these higher rank commissioned officers who would be white, who would look out for white troops, and you would get a lot of the higher ranking NCOs, you know, who would look out for black soldiers, you know, and that's how it was. Even in the military, it was segregated, you know, and everyone knew their place. But this doesn't shock me. In fact, to a black soldier, as soon as they hear this, or a black veteran, as soon as they hear this isn't shocking. You know, when you have the VA currently being sued by black veterans such as Conley Monk Jr., black veteran, a black Vietnam veteran who he and his legal team proved at the VA was giving black veterans lower VA ratings and denying them VA coverage and VA benefits and VA compensation at a higher rate than white veterans since I think the year 2002 until 2020, almost 20 years. They proved that in court. And a good bit of VA employees are veterans, but white veterans. Some of the same races you actually served with in the freaking military are now working at the Department of freaking Veteran Affairs. That's why it's not shocking that black veterans are facing disparities that white veterans don't face as often when you adjust the population sizes. That's why. Some of the same discrimination, some of the same lack of promotion, some of the same lack of opportunity, some of the same segregation, some of the same denial of benefits and opportunities that we saw in the service as black veterans and as black service members and as also black service members. We're seeing even after we get out. And then we understand fully the reason why it was like that when we were in. See? Stuff like this isn't shocking. It's just shocking to the general public because for the longest time, black veterans have been saying this. And what has people been saying? Oh, you must not be a real soldier. You must not really love your country. Oh, those are your battle buddies. Those are your friends. Why would you tell your friends? Because we were being honest about a problem. And now the DOJ, the DOD, and the Pentagon now have to deal with the problem that you were gaslighting black veterans and black service members over for years and years and years. Now you got to deal with it. I got called a racist by a VA patient advocate in Washington State for asking for a black therapist. I put it on TikTok. It went viral. So, that guy served in the military. White guy. See, these are the kinds of things that black veterans have been telling people for the longest time. And now America has been, it's just like my grandma always said, a hard head makes a soft behind. You didn't listen. Well, there's consequences to not listening, as you can see. Yeah. Now you got a little problem with goose steppers. You're supposed to march in a straight line in the military. Well, now you got goose steppers. Goose steppers, if you know what I mean, in the military. Now you got people who are extremists in the freaking military, if you know what I mean. And for what? And for what? This is why when black veterans are telling the American public stuff, it's time to listen. The gaslighting period is over, guys. It's time to listen. It's time to consider that everything that black veterans like myself have been saying for the longest time, especially about stuff like this, has been not only correct, but that you got to go back and see everything that I've said in the past to see how correct I was. The Order of Nine Ankles and other groups who are far right, they have joined the military, and it is well known. Even street gangs have. It is well known. So, it gets to the point where I got to ask the question, is America going to wake up to this, or are we going to keep playing games until it's too late? Because these people are in your armed services. So you got your mind to make up. All right. So we got the next case here. Next case is a police officer. This police officer is from Illinois, and his name is Jordan Collins. Jordan Collins has been charged with having CP. This police officer
charged with possession of child pornography.
WGN's Jewel Hillary joining us live in Elgin with more on our top story. Jewel.
Hi, good evening, Micah and Pat. Elgin police officer Jordan Collins was arrested on the job 2 days ago. The 5-year veteran with the Elgin PD faced a judge this afternoon and is expected to remain locked up at the DeKalb County Jail at least through his next court date, which is at the end of this month. He faces several child pornography charges.
Wow.
Attorney General Kwame Raoul charged 33-year-old Elgin police officer Jordan Collins with 5.
Jordan Collins is the typical police officer in this day and age, and I'm going to say typical. And before you disagree with me, let me do something real quick before you disagree and say, oh, that's unfair. You shouldn't say that about all police officers. You shouldn't judge all police officers. Well, let me go ahead and tell you that I've done the research. So on my YouTube channel here, this video is 1 hour and 41 minutes long, right? Almost 1 hour and 42 minutes long of me demonstrating how often police officers are predators with badges. Before you disagree with me, I would suggest that you go and view this video. I'm going to post this in the chat real quick. Before you disagree, go view that video. And I want you to consider that I've done the research. Consider that. And consider the fact that I've done so many stories like this, and I've taken a month-long break. A month-long break from police officers, committing crimes like this, because I am also a childhood victim. And so it causes me a lot of trauma to cover stories like this. But the reason why I cover stories like this, because when I was a kid, I tried to tell a sheriff what happened to me. And it was perpetrated by an older brother. The sheriff did nothing. So I tried to go into law enforcement as a correctional officer when I became an adult, and also the military, to try to become the hero that no one was ever for me. And when I went into corrections, I discovered that law enforcement is more corrupt than what I could have ever imagined. I thought that I was going to come there to clean it up. I was going to be the big, bad hero. And I discovered there are no heroes in this profession. There are only scumbags and whistleblowers. I chose the latter. Yeah, it made my life considerably harder. But I can sleep at night. It made my life very inconvenient. But I can look myself in the mirror and say, I'm proud of what I see. Yes, it has definitely caused a lot of people to not like me. But you know what? I like justice anyways. I like it more anyways. But let's get more into this story, man. An Elgin police officer was charged with possession of CP Wednesday, according to the Office of the Illinois Attorney General. Jordan Collins, a 33-year-old Kirkland resident and 5-year member of the Elgin Police Department, EPD, was charged with 5 counts of possession of CP, a Class 2 felony, with each charge carrying up to 7 years in prison. So he's facing up to 35 years in prison, this man. That is sad, man. Blue Lives Matter. Is this your man's? I mean, why do I do so many stories like this with police officers? I mean, I got to know at this point, because it just seems to me like it's a pattern. Wouldn't you say so? I mean, at this point, wouldn't you say so? I certainly would. I certainly would. Let's get into this, man. The next news story. Vice News. The names of thousands of neo-Yazis music fans just got leaked. Thousands of purveyors of neo-Yazi tunes just had their day ruined by a crew of enterprising Scandinavian anti-fascists. Oh dear. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. For years, if a white supremacist wanted to get their hands on select neo-Yazi music, one of their likely stops would be Midgard, a Scandinavian online shop specializing in racist tunes. What? Wow. While the site offered a wide range of neo-Yazi music, clothing, and paraphernalia, its customers learned last week one thing they didn't offer was InfoSec. This tough lesson was taught by AFA Sweden, a group of Stockholm-based anti-fascists who ruined thousands of the site customers' holiday by releasing Midgard's customer register. Oh, season's greetings, baby. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well done, AFA Sweden. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Well done. See, a lot of these people who are on the far right, who are on the extremist scale, they don't realize that when you make certain transactions, there's a copy of it that's left out there. And that copy can be distributed. Now, in this case, not a neo-Yazis, a lot of goose steppers. They they found out the hard way that perhaps you should shop online a little bit more anonymously. When reached for comment, AFA Sweden didn't tell Vice News how they got their hands on the database, but said it is far from the first leak from which we have published information. In the past, the group has published other information they gleaned from Midgard, as well as other online neo-Yazi stores. Wow. Quote, this is from AFA. This is from AFA Sweden. Quote, unlike the other hacks from which we have published info, we wanted to do something different this time. With over 200,000 orders, it just was not feasible to work with everything ourselves like we usually do. Instead, we publish it as a database that you can search and sort after several parameters. Our goal, and what has already happened, is that anti-fascists in other countries have started to work on their Yazis. Oh. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Well done. Well done. Oh, the data is freely available in the table on the anti-fascist websites, and it contains not just the name of the probable neo-Yazis, but what they purchased, their phone numbers, the address they listed for delivery, and in the case of Swedish customers, their social security numbers. Oh! Bravo! Encore! Bravo! Oh, God! Damn! Dang! Whew! I know there's some folks right now. There's some folks right now who are some music fans who are having a really, really rough day. Oh. Oh dear. And the amazing part is that suppose you're a person who ordered this music from America. We know whose you is now. Because a lot of the neo-Yazis here, they order their music from over there. They think that it gives them a, some kind of a spiritual connection, to order actual Scandinavian music, from the motherland, And boy, that is rough. Well, I think that buying that kind of music and advocating those kind of beliefs is what we would normally refer to as playing stupid games. And as some folks on the far right would say, when you play stupid games, you win, what are those kind of prizes? I can't, it's right on the tip of my tongue. I can't, you win stupid prizes. You went on the internet knowing what kind of site that was, knowing what you were buying, and you use your real name. Well, actions have consequences. And in a case like this, there's an acronym. It's FAFO. F around and find out. You use your name, you proudly use your name and your address, your phone number, and everything else to order these products. And you paid a dear price for it, baby. I love it. Good. Hey, AFF Sweden, good work. Bravo. Encore. We need more of this. We need more of this, baby. I love it. So, we've got another police officer here. This guy is another predator. So, this police officer's name is Jonathan Andrew Edwards. He's a Harnett County Sheriff's Deputy, actually. I shouldn't say police officer, Sheriff's Deputy, even though they're both cops. He was arrested on Tuesday and charged with essaying people who's under the age of 18, and those people were as young as 7. Yes. He was also charged with 10 counts, 10 felony counts of this, and 1 count of felony obstruction of justice. Wow. Blue Lives Matter, is this your man's? I mean, you say all cops are heroes. I mean, stuff like this doesn't sound very heroic. Just saying. According to arrest warrants obtained by WRAL News, Edwards essayed multiple people who's under the age of 18, ranging from ages 7 to 17. This man's a serial predator. The warrant said that Edwards then destroyed digital evidence, which led them to charging him with obstruction of justice. Edwards was originally being held in the Harnett County Detention Center under a $1 million bond. He made his first court appearance on Tuesday and was released on bond after the judge reduced the amount to $500,000. Why in the world would the judge reduce the bond for a man who's accused of essaying someone who's under the age of 18, somebody who's 7? That is the privileges that police officers get, but you want to sit here and demonize black men when they're falsely accused of things. Wow. The sheriff's office said they were made aware of possible misconduct by Edwards in October of this year, which is when they launched an internal affairs probe into the matter. Sheriff Wayne Coates requested that the State Bureau of Investigation assist with the investigation. Wow. Edwards was working in the patrol division at the time of his termination. This man was on patrol. This man was on duty. This man was on duty. This is who Blue Lives Matter calls a hero. This is who they call a hero. I want you to see this man's face. I want you to see this. Because again, I want Blue Lives Matter to justify all this stuff.
County Sheriff's deputy charged with sex crimes against children has bonded out of jail. Hello, everyone. I'm Deborah Morgan.
And I'm Gerald Owens. Deputy Jonathan Edwards was arrested yesterday, faces 10 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor involving children as young as 7 years old. WBR's Gilbert Bays has been digging into this story. And
wow. This is who people who defend police officers, this is who they're defending. Just so you know.
Has some of the disturbing allegations.
Jonathan Edwards has been a deputy here with the Harnett County Sheriff's Office for 10 years. In October of this year, there was a report of some possible misconduct. That investigation led to 10 charges of sexual misconduct with a minor. For the past 10 years, Jonathan Edwards has patrolled Harnett County as a sheriff's deputy, looking for the bad guys. Tonight, he finds himself on the wrong side of the law. He's been fired from his patrol duties and arrested. According to a press release from Sheriff Wayne Coates, the offenses date back to February of 2022.
So back in February of 2022, this guy was on patrol, essaying people who was under the age of 18. He was given a badge. He was given authority. He was given weapons. He was given equipment. He was given a salary. He was going to have a pension. This man was being paid to be a predator, essentially. This man was being paid to be a predator as a police officer, essentially. And this is the face of Blue Lives Matter. See, I cover stories. Notice, this is I think the third or fourth story that I cover like this in this one particular stream. And I'm going to split these up into individual videos. But just so the audience knows, when you see this as a separate video later on, I covered several of these stories in one sit. And I just want you to understand, this is what you're going to see from Blue Lives Matter. They're going to justify this stuff. They will never take accountability when it comes to this stuff. They will always blame you, the audience, or they will blame me for even reporting on this. Why aren't you reporting on other crimes? Excuse me, when a police officer or a sheriff's deputy commits crimes like this, do you not think someone should be dedicated to actually reporting it? Because it certainly isn't Blue Lives Matter. Yeah, they know it's not on their websites. Someone has to do this job, right? Obviously. Someone has to have the interest to go after these predator police officers and actually keep track of them. I have a whole database where I keep track of these people so that when they get acquitted of these charges and they try to become police officers again, I call their new employer, I try to find out, I keep a track on them, and I call their new employer and I share the news story and court documents. And I make sure they don't get to oink on the job anymore. I make sure predators don't get to have badges anymore. See, that's my role around here as a journalist. I target a certain thing. I fit a certain niche. This is my niche. And I do this despite being a survivor myself. Because other people who are in so-called black media, right, will criticize me for even doing this. I've seen it. I've seen it. They'll support ratchetness. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice is calling me about where I used to work. Hey, can you tell us about all things that you saw at Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center? Oh, so the DOJ is looking into the place I used to work at, huh? So all the things that I said turns out to be correct. And they're talking to me about it. I had to move. I had to leave my home. See? But see, that's the stuff you don't hear. Stuff like this, man, this is common amongst law enforcement. It's just what they do. It's just what they do. It's just what they do. I don't know what else to say to you. I don't know what else to say to you at this point. It's just what they do. Seriously. 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 Let's get into the next story. Now, this next story is going to be fascinating. Because this story is about what happened on a Senate hearing floor. Now, there hasn't been a lot of reporting about this in the media. And I find that to be strange. Because there's even people in the media who have called this out. Left-wing journalists who have said, well, how come no one's talking about this as much? Or making it as much of a big deal about this as it clearly is. What to know about Washington's scandal over special activities in a Senate hearing room? Capitol Hill was rocked over the weekend by the circulation of an explicit video of two individuals apparently having a different kind of activity in a congressional hearing room. The 8-second clip, first posted Friday evening by a right-wing media website, The Daily Caller, was reportedly leaked from a private group chat for gay men in politics. Oh, okay. Okay. This is fascinating. I'm not gonna lie. This is definitely different news. I did not see this coming. The report, which did not name the participants and a blurred face that appeared in the video, claimed it was a congressional staffer in the tape and identified the setting as room 216 in the Hart Senate office building. Oh, okay. Okay, so what happened? The Spectator, a conservative British magazine, reported hours earlier that an unnamed staffer for Senator Ben Cardin, Democrat from Maryland. Oh, man. Ben Cardin has publicly shared a series of photos and videos of himself engaging in special activities in the so-called hollow halls of Congress. The description of one photo in particular bore resemblance to the video shared later by the Daily Caller. Oh dear. The news immediately gained traction in the conservative media. While details remain scant, outlets including the New York Post and Washington Examiner identified the staffer as Aidan Mace Sharofsky, a legislative aide for Cardin. So an aide for Cardin was out here, man, doing something strange, baby. I'm not going to get into detail. I'm not going to describe nothing. But, my goodness, son. Listen, I have no judgments for this man's lifestyle, his life. That's that man's life, man. Let that man live. But the Senate hearing room, man? Really? Like, listen, I understand some things could be exciting. Some things could be different. Some people are, I don't know, man. But there's risking it, and then there's risking it, man. I mean, do you live your life, man? I have no judgments. All love here. No matter who you love, love is love, bro. I get it. But man, oh man, it says Cardin is angry, disappointed with ex-staffer after the tape has been revealed. Senator Ben Cardin, Democrat, on Monday said he is angry after a video emerged of a now former staffer performing some special skills. Let's just say he was, when he began his Baldur's Gate 3 character, he went off into a special skill tree, baby. Let's just say, down, down, down by the river. Oh my God. So Cardin declined to delve into particulars about the staffer and the incident in question, which was first reported by the Daily Caller. But he expressed his displeasure with the situation, telling reporters that he viewed what happened as a breach of trust. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, that's wild, yo. That's wild. That's wild, yo. Yo. That's wild. There's risking it, and then there's risking it. That man said, hold my beer. Hold the whole case, baby. Oh, my God. Well, you know, they say those are the hollow halls. Those halls are no longer sacred after this. I mean, first of all, didn't they find some special powder in one of the libraries in the freaking White House or something like that? I swear, man, you finding tapes like this and you finding all kind of powdery substances and all, you know, between that and this, I mean, are these sacred halls anymore? I mean, you got stuff happening here that's happening in freaking Waffle House. Lord, goodness gracious. Oh, man. So Senator Ben Cardin says he won't be seeking re-election. He's 80 years old. He said that back in May, and man, he made a great choice. Because how in the world am I going to believe you're going to secure the military? You can't secure your own staffers. Oh, man. I can't believe you're going to handle, you know, all kinds of global problems, right? Right. I can't believe you're going to handle all the global problems if you can't handle your own staffers. Lord have mercy. They finding powder substances. They finding tapes. They finding all kind of stuff in government. Boy, I tell you, this is fascinating, isn't it? Man, I guess one thing is clear. That is your tax dollars at work, baby. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Let's get into this next story here, man. This next story here, this comes from Hartford in Kentucky. Hartford police chief facing several charges. This man is facing a lot of charges. This man, oh boy, Brent Lindsay. Brent Lindsay is he is in hot water. Oh boy, Brent Lindsay in Kentucky. He's facing drug SA charges and charges that he's a bit of a creep. Oh boy, goodness gracious, yikes. Blue Lives Matter, is this your man's? I mean, you say all cops are heroes, but this guy's the police chief. I mean, if he ain't a hero, and if he's behaving like this, then what is everybody underneath him like? I just gotta ask these questions. I mean, you think that kind of question is perfectly fair given this scenario? I mean, it's not me saying this. It is the cops saying this cop here, this police chief here, happens to be one of the criminals he's supposed to be chasing. I didn't say it. They said it. Him did it. They say it. All right. But let's get deeper into this story here. Hartford, Connecticut. An official in Hartford, Connecticut is now being charged with several serious crimes as a result of an investigation, according to authorities. Officials with the Penny Rao Narcotics Task Force tell 44 News that Hartford Police Chief Brent Lindsay was indicted on multiple charges at the Ohio County Courthouse on Tuesday. Wow. Kentucky's Authorities say they began investigating Lindsay after receiving complaints about drug activity. They received complaints about that kind of activity involving those substances, but it was involving a police chief. You can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make this stuff up, man. You just can't make it up. You can't make it up. It's impossible to make up at this point. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. But that the investigation led to other charges. So when they looked into him because he was trapping, he was pushing packs, you know, or as certain lawyers say, he was pushing positivity. He was pushing positivity, yo. He was pushing P. I was waiting to use that. He was pushing P, yo. He was pushing positivity. If you've been watching the Young Thug trial, his lawyer said that he would when he said he was pushing P, he wasn't talking about pushing product. He was pushing positivity. So this police chief here, he was pushing positivity. Court officials tell 44 News that Lindsay was indicted on the following charges: 3 counts of tampering with physical evidence. Wow. A police chief who tampers with evidence. Nice. 1 count of official misconduct, 1st degree. 1 count of being a creep. Wow. 9 counts of essay in the 1st degree. That's not funny. That's actually serious. Wow. 1 count of attempted trafficking of illegal substances in the 1st degree. 1st offense. This guy's a predator. This guy tampers with evidence. This guy's a creep. And he's trapping. All this as a police chief. And do you understand this guy was already released on a $25,000 surety bond? $25K. 25K. Okay? I want you to look. I'm going to make this bigger. I want you to take a look at the charges again. I want you to see this. Look at the charges. All right? Look at the charges. And then look at his bond. Look at the bond. Yeah. Yeah. Look at that. This is who Blue Lives Matter is supporting. This is who they defend. This is who they consider heroes. Yeah. This is who Blue Lives Matter considers heroes. This is who they support. Absolutely. Without question. Without question. This is who they support. Without question. Wow, Blue Lives Matter, is this your man's? This man's a predator who's out here pushing product as a police chief. I wish I could say I'm surprised, but it's business as usual when it comes to U.S. law enforcement. They're mostly like this, believe it or not. Absolutely. Absolutely. But anyways, guys, it's going to be it for the show tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to have a short little chat real quick. Man, I had a little debate with Dewan B on Twitter. And you know, I don't wish that brother nothing bad. But my thing is that, brother, come on. You can do better than that. Jonathan Majors deserves support no matter who he dates. It ain't for you to make that choice for him, brother. Chill out. Bad. Because it's a really, really bad look. You got ratio in your own comment section. So, you know, it is what it is for you, bro. Anyways, until next time, horns up, peace out. Good night. and good luck.